Everything is 3. Let there be 3 S. The first S is sound corner. We will tune into the sound corner shortly, which will set the tempo, the momentum of the audience. It is a very intelligent way of capturing the audience mood. It is powered by predictive analytics on what is running in your mind, and a song has been specially created for the occasion. The first S is sound corner. There will be 2 songs, first minute and the 30th minute, somewhere around the 30th minute. Then we move into a super short. What is a super short? Those of you who listened to the MCs and filled up your questionnaire, 2 questions have been selected for rewarding and for answering. So the 2 best questions are called a super short. I realized a mistake. I told Arun that I need at least 50 questions. I got 50 questions. 300 participants, 50 questions, 1/6. It's okay. Project management is achieving goals. We got 50. Thank you, Arun. The last 15 minutes is for audience exclusively, and it is called as Spotlight. This row will be line 1, this row will be line 2, this will be 3 and 4. We will be having 4 quadrants, and in each quadrant, there will be 1 question coming to the panelists. Obviously, the first choice in the first quadrant would be for a lady member. Second, we will give it to a male, okay, out of concession. Third will be female, and fourth will be male. And we time it to 75 minutes, right? So that is the broad context with which we are entering into the panel discussion. Couple of things. This is a post-lunch session. And the theme talks about dream, and you will be tempted to sleep. Again, I warn you, we have got sufficient number of drones and IoTs monitoring the best sleeper cell, and we will activate you. Right? So we are all set, and my colleagues are here with me to disseminate the topic in their own way. They bring in a wealth of experience. As I converse with them, you will realize the amount of industry depth that they carry into the occasion. The spread of fields and their versatility will be visible to you. With that, Gokul, do I have you with me, and can you turn on? No, let me just do one thing. Since we were all talking about three things, right? Sangamam is 3 Ds, and then the 3 kilowatts of energy, and then of course 3 S. Don't we need to give 3 cheers to the panel discussion? When I say 1, 2, and 3, you will clap thrice. 1, 2, and 3 once. 1, 2, and 3 second time. 1, 2, and 3 third time. 3 is the winning combination, and nobody is sleeping. Gokul, over to you for the first song.
என்ன சொல்லுவேன் என்னுள்ள தாங்கல ஆஃபர் ஏத்தியும் ஆளுங்க கிடைக்கல
One night I could not sleep when I was told that I was the moderator. The result is this. I specifically thank my classmate, Dr. Vedavalli, who gave the female voice, Balaji Chandrasekharan, my ex-colleague, who gave the male voice, and my nephew. He is engaged, he is getting married shortly. He still gave time for his chitapa and did all the keyboard mixing sitting from Nice in France. And again, it is 3 people. Thank you. Now we move into the first part of the panel discussion, which is a very, very sharp round. Like everybody wants a brisk running. And Ravi, I think I will start off with you. What do you think about this topic? 1 minute, one line, or one word, whichever you choose.
One word would be difficult, but since you started with 3D, 3 horsepower, and then the kind of sound corner kind of framework, I'm also going to talk about 3 keywords to solve all talent-related challenges, which is KFC. After lunch, KFC may not be exciting for you, but KFC is no focus and care. Probably will be a solution for talent management strategy.
Thank you. Rajan sir.
First is Sangamam. Yes, definitely it is good, but one thing is missing. அது இருந்தா இன்னும் நல்லா இருக்கும். அது என்ன நான் சொல்லல.
அச்சச்சோ.
After 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, good. So one is like respect. Okay, and the other one important means allow me to perform.
Rani madam.
Building coaching culture instead of toxic culture.
Building it rather than talking it. Great. Ram, to you.
Okay, first off, compliments to you. I don't think there's any talent shortage in your circles and your family. That said, what strikes me most about this topic is, who is a leader? To me, the definition of a leader is given in the tagline of this program itself, that is dream, dare, and deliver. A leader is one who can dream, who can envision what has to be done in the future, dares to do it, because daring usually means at a very minor level, moving out of your comfort zone, and at a major level, taking huge risks, which can derail your individual professional career and maybe derail the organization's goals itself. So dream, dare, and most importantly, deliver. Ultimately, you're responsible for putting what you have said you will do. So dream, dare, and deliver, in my view, is exactly what a leader is about. So that's it from me.
Fantastic, Ram. I think we have a bunch of very powerful answers opening out the topic. A quick googly from me, it was not planned, seeing the audience and ensuring that nobody is dreaming right now. A quick question, what do you think about the title? Anything striking, any one answer, 2 answer, I'm fine to take it. Anyone can just stand up and speak. Pardon? No, I'm talking about the topic. The one which we are taking about is the talent aspect of it. Role of leaders in talent attraction, talent acquisition, and talent retention. What does this tell you?
There should be a personal connect.
Okay. Any other answers? Transformation. Any more answers? I'm still having a minute with me.
We have a very narrow idea of what talent should look like.
Right. Kaushik breaks in with what is talent, and he says that we are having a very narrow outlook. For me personally, wielding the HR role for last 3 years before I quit the corporate world, it is personally a very relieving thing for me that talent is not necessarily coupled and tied up with HR. Everywhere when there is no talent acquisition happening, we blame the HR team. Whenever people go, when there is attrition, it is HR which is blamed. But what is the role of a leader, right? I think it's a very powerful way of opening the topic. While HR has a very significant role to be played, there is a leadership role, and leadership is not restricting itself to HR. It could be your CEO, it could be your CFO, it could be any of the CXOs or any of the fancied EVPs, SVPs, EVVPs, all these vice presidents have further suffixes, prefixes going on, right? It could be anybody. So every leader has a role in this particular game. So that is something that is important. And second thing is, like Ram pointed out, who is a leader? Just because I hold a title, do I become a leader? Any number of vice presidents, senior vice presidents, extraordinary vice presidents do not make a leader. That is another thing that could be explored and debated upon. So the leaders have a very significant role in establishing a culture which attracts talents to the game, which also helps to acquire and retain them. That is the way we have summed it up. And quickly turning over to you, Ram, what do you think in the current scenario about two things, talent attraction and talent acquisition? Each one of you will be touching upon it. From your point of view, how do we make this attraction happen? Is it really attractive? Can we acquire talent?
So, first off, it's the flavor of the season, if I may call it. The war for talent is getting brutal, as was predicted a couple of years back. And this war for talent is not even industry specific. Today, across any industry, people can move and populate the talent pool in some other industry. Therefore, attraction is extremely important. But having attracted somebody, attraction is just the first step. Having attracted, then you need to make sure that the talent delivers what the talent has been brought in for, and then is retained in the organization, because today pretty much it is not like the earlier days where it was, if I may call it, a seller's market. Today it's a buyer's market, right? In the sense that it's entirely up to the individual. The choices that the individual has, he or she has, is so high that if you are not on the ball as far as retention is concerned, making sure that there is a very compulsive reason for that person to stay on with you, work on with you, and give discretionary effort, then you have lost it. You may be a great person to attract talent, but if you do not actually thereafter retain the talent with you, all you're doing is providing a coaching institute for other people to take the talent from you.
See, one beauty about Ram, let me reveal some secrets about the panelists now. He's a distance runner, so he takes a long distance view of things, and he brought that answer to you. And incidentally, I also learned from him that he is proficient and fluent in Marathi and Bengali. He can read literature. What does it mean? When you go to a different part of the country, you don't just stick on with what you have, you expand yourself, you become a sangamam into that region, and you know that language. I'm sure those things are also relevant, Ram. What would you like to comment upon? Because you learnt it when you are flying high with Indian Airlines in many different roles.
Yeah, absolutely. So, assimilating yourself in an organization and the role that the organization plays in assimilating you into it are both equally important, right? Just to sort of give you one very well-known, I don't know how many of you here are from the armed forces, but in the armed forces, it's a very common saying, right? That a person does not choose to die for his country. He chooses to die for his paltan, for his regiment, right? And quite often, he chooses to die for his commander. So the leader makes a very big difference in what kind of output or what kind of outcome his team delivers. So that's always there.
Thanks, Ram. That's a very stirring example. I mean, recently you would have seen some of my photo shoot in Kashmir or whatever, but I will take it as a very poignant moment for me and my family to have stood in the Kargil Memorial. The number of soldiers who are laid down there brought tears to all of us, and that is exactly what you are pointing out. It was a very costly victory, but people gave their lives to bring back those Kargil posts. Rani Madam, over to you now. So how would you like to define the talent acquisition from your perspective? Because whatever we do in the industry later on, the output comes from you. You are a professor, you are the one who builds the values and the thought process into the management students. So how would you like to define, give suggestions on talent acquisition?
So before that view, I would like to say before to answer your question, sir, I would like to say there is a one Tirukural, it's a Thondri Pugalod Thondrha Agdilar Thondralin Thondrama Nandri. Yes, we born with certain talents, no doubt in this. That's why we are here. You can see the success of this Sangamam program. So everyone is having a talent, but as a teacher, we are getting a clay. The students are coming with that, some raw ideas. Recently, you may heard about this hackathon program, all India level hackathon program for the engineering college students and university students and all. From our college, we sent 27 teams. From that, 6 teams won in that program. So all over the India, that program was organized. So for that 6 students per team, they have to do the coding programs. So for that, 36 hours continuously, the students has to do the coding program. So the 6 must be good in that coding. So 36 hours without sleep, they have to do that one. Then 6 times the appraisal was done. So the students can do that effectively, means it's because of that the college what we taught for them. So without this teaching, the student cannot be a leader. So leader, we are providing so many opportunities for the leaders to do so many things. Even I can request you can watch that one video, Ordinary Heroes of a Taj. So at the Taj bomb blast, you know that one lady, it's a Malika from Trichy. She controlled the whole events. She is a telephone operator. She gave the instructions to the guest and those who are in the Taj hotel on that day. Around 1,700 people were there. The interview, it was in, the interview was done by the Dash Pandey from Harvard Business School. That interview, the Ratan Tata, he said it is that we never give a leadership training, but on that day that Maliha did a role, it's a excellent one. So I request you people please watch that video. That is the Ordinary Heroes of Taj. So they are the Tata group of companies. They not recruit the employees from the metropolitan cities, Taiwan cities. They selected the members from Trichy, Nagpur, Aurangabad in this side. So before they recruit the students, they ask the teachers, head of the department and all. So are they giving respect to the teachers and the elders? So those are having such a type of culture, surely they can lead the situation at any time.
Dr. Rani, that was fantastic. I think you are bringing out very, very powerful points. One, you said that the students are coming to us like clay, which means you are the sculptor and you have the ability to bring out the art, elicit the art that is plugged in as clay, which is a fantastic thing. And one more insight about Dr. Rani. Down the line when she retires, she has already been working on several projects which are women-centric and which have a flavor of helping women who belong to the lower economic strata, and she wants to devote more of herself post-retirement. And you know why she is in the center of the stage, right? That is why we swap the seats. The lady in the center is more important. I mean, we learned this morning that moms and grandmoms are great project leaders. We also demonstrate it in our own way. Now, Rajan sir, you need to bring a little humor. The audience is smiling, but I want them to burst with laughter. And you can get the mic going. Or you can swap the mic.
This is always a problem, right? So whenever I take a mic, there is always a problem, right? So thank you, and you put too much of pressure. Okay, so again, this is whether to retain or
talent pressure.
Pressure. Okay, right, good. So I'll just give you one real-time example that has happened, in fact, to me itself, right? So it was for the position of DGM HR. I was called for an interview at 10:30 a.m. And when I went inside, I saw about 30 people sitting. Okay, such a senior level position in that company. And my interview happened at 3 o'clock. And of course, it's a branded company. I don't want to name that company, right? You can just imagine how it is. So what is the image that I will have? And I really got boiled up, and then தமிழ்ல சொன்னோம் அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அப்படியே மேலே அப்படி பொங்கி எழுந்து வந்துட்டு அந்த ஹெச்ஆரை பிடிச்சி ஒரு காட்டு காட்டினேன். என்னையா இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு சீனியர் லெவலில் கூப்பிட்டு இந்த மாதிரி பண்ணுறீங்களே அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு. But unfortunately, what happened, he said, sir, எங்கள் பிளான் டேட்டுக்கு உங்களை தவிர வேறு யாருமே பிடிக்கல சார் at 3:30. Okay, but of course, so this is something very important, right? When you look for people, when people come to your industry, keeping them waiting, that itself gives you a bad, however good your image is, the image is getting spoiled. But luckily, it's like, of course, I was selected there. But one thing that I ensured was any interview that is happening in the company should be completed within 15 minutes. If not more than 15 minutes, I will take a decision to select or not select. And it happened even with CEO of the company. Because for some positions, CEO has to come. It was made it very clear. And I'm happy and proud to say that that was made a policy in that group company, and all the group companies followed that. And in fact, we had a good name. Whatever bad name that we had previously, people started coming inside. Okay, at least we had this, no? Like when you come inside, at least they'll give full respect. And the other important thing that what we looked at is the reception of the candidate who was coming inside the factory. whether it is an ordinary trainee or a general manager, the reception and the security was very, very, very important. Because normally what happens is in a lot of places, no, people come for interview, and the way the people are treated at the security becomes a big issue. Okay, so that was the first primary thing that we attended to, and that created a lovely atmosphere. Even the candidate who was not selected, he went and said outside, sir, at least parallel, sir, Mariyadoda narthananga, sir. That respect was there. So we were able to pull in a lot of people. This is what I wanted to say.
See, one thing that comes out strikingly is the touch points, whether somebody is an employee or pre-employment stage, you call it applicant, you call it candidate, or whatever, the way you treat them right from the first touch point is very important. And he was highlighting with an example. You are called for a senior level interview and you wait for 5 hours for the interview to happen. காட்சி நீட்டினாரு ஆஃபரை காமிச்சிட்டாங்க.
இல்லை அதில் இன்னொரு முக்கியமான விஷயம் அப்படின்னா பசியில் உட்காந்துருக்கோம், அப்போ தான் அவங்களுக்கெல்லாம் தோசை இட்லியெல்லாம் நல்லா ஸ்மெல்லாக போகுது. எப்படி இருக்குன்னு நினச்சி பாருங்க.
And do you know one thing interesting about Rajan sir? He is a multicultural man. When you can call him as a MNC or whatever, he highlighted this point that he has experienced cultures. Korean, Japanese, German, South African, American.
Traditional Indian company also.
Traditional Indian company also. So he knows the filter coffee as well as the Japanese way of meditation or whatever. So what I'm trying to highlight here, he has seen all these cultures and he is trying to bring and synthesize those points to you in terms of how do you deal with somebody. See, talent attraction is not about how many likes are there in the social media. There could be any number of likes, there could be any number of forwards and all that. But the touch that is given to an employee is what he is touching upon.
So just to add one thing is not, I always believe in this, right? So anybody, it is like, don't look at people as resources, right? I pay you, you have to work. Please don't look like that. Please look at relationship. I think today we are running behind numbers and we have forgotten one important thing is like, money dana paaka marandhatom. And that's why we have all the problems that is coming inside. Okay, and whatever you talk, whatever you do, show it in action, and let it not be from lip to lip, let it be from heart to heart.
Well said. I think a decade ago we were in a challenging situation wherever I was working, and there was this need. I mean, you know, most of you coming from an IT background, you know the importance of utilization, billability, and all that goes along with that. I came out with a fairly anti-thesis kind of a statement. I don't want any of my team members to be dollar denominated. For me, everybody is same. Whether they are today earning so much dollars or not earning dollars, they are my team members, they are my employees. Which is exactly he is talking about, that it is not a number. It is not 1344 or anything like that. It's a human being with all that flesh, blood, and that same kind of emotions in running. How do we treat them during critical situations is what counts. Ravi, over to you. What do you want to break in with in terms of the talent situation?
I think when it comes to the talent management or right, when it comes to the talent-related challenges, there are multiple different ways you can handle it with. When it comes to talent management strategy, some of the globally proven test cases will tell us there are broadly 2 ways in which it is handled. One is buy or build. So when it comes to buy, it's easy, right? So most of the M&A related activities, wearing my legal hat, I can tell you, most of the large companies go and acquire some IPR related products and services companies, and that's the talent pool which they can easily buy, right? Sometimes you also go to the competition and take the talent because that's, again, easy opportunity. Then when it comes to build, it's a very difficult one, which is where the engagement related practices become very important, right? So I'll give you one example where the talent buy was strategically used differently, right? So it was about 2008, 2009 times, the smartphone competition was the peak. The war between those times between Apple and Nokia. So the imaging technology was the major focus, and that was the future technology which was looked up. So there were 3 guys who were in Helsinki factory in Nokia. These 3 are the world-class imaging technology professionals. What happened was they got a call from Apple. Apple was trying to get them in, and they said, why don't you come and work with us? Interestingly, again, I'm touching upon the cultural aspects of it, right? So because the leader's ability to build strong culture helps talent to work with the organization. So what happened was all the three guys refused the offer, which was fantastic. Apple was #1, world's #1 company, and they're getting an offer. And all three declined the offer. Then after 2 months, they got called directly from Steve Jobs. A very exciting kind of situation probably. If I was in, I'll be thinking like, oh my God, I earned this. And one of them declined. And two of them, the invitation was almost like open. He said, why don't you come on a visit to US, be with us for 2 weeks as guest, and then you can take a call. And two actually picked up the invitation, went to US, stayed 2 weeks, came back. After some time, they said, we are not interested. Two things. One is about leaders' ability to kind of go to any extent to build talent. That's how people think differently and build highly engaged, high-performing teams, right? The second one is the culture you create in the organization. As much as the Nokia story turned out differently, those were the times the cultural aspects of it was very strong. Therefore, talent engagement was working fantastic, world-class. Therefore, all three decided not to go to Apple competition. They stayed with the organization. One is about leaders' ability to attract or go to any extent to attract talent and build a high-performing team. The second is, how do you counter that in a talent war, which Ram already talked about? How do you kind of create a compelling culture to develop highly engaged workforce? Those are the two interesting dimensions which leaders may want to think about. Therefore, like I said earlier, knowing, focusing, and caring of employees. I completely agree, human as human. So it's more about the personal touch as leaders you are able to establish with young talent, which will make them to work for the organization.
Thanks a lot, Ravi. I think you were very powerfully, anecdotally pointing out that the efforts taken by Steve Jobs to attract talent. I am the CEO of the large company. It doesn't matter. You are attracting talent. You put that extra mile. You don't leave it to. I remember one of my colleagues who was very furious for one of his direct reports, waiting for the TA team to set up the interview. He was shouting, why don't you do that? The thing is, you want the talent, you just go ahead and do it. And let me reveal a secret about Ravi to all of you. When we were discussing and when he was giving his background, I decided to be careful with him. He has been a practicing lawyer. He has seen banks in the East, and he has seen banks in the West, and he has also seen Nokia as a technology center. And his answer synthesized whether it's an Abu Dhabi bank or a Standard Chartered bank or the Nokia kind of experience, and he touches upon the same thing that we were hearing all through. The humaneness that goes into the transaction is a very, very essential thing. Now, panelists, quickly, anybody wants to add anything before I summarize this module? Any thought on the talent attraction, on the talent acquisition side?
Just a quick one from me. All organizations want the best talent, and all organizations in their own way. Ultimately, they are all populated by people like us. So I presume that we are the decent types. So all organizations basically are trying to do what they can in terms of what is good for the people. The challenge is this. Many organizations are operating on a different template that existed a few years back but is no longer valid. To give you a very simple example, an organization was supposed to be paternalistic. It was supposed to pay you on time. It was supposed to pay you what your work or your skills fairly demanded. It's supposed to make sure that your working environment is comfortable, hygienic, safe, and all that. And at the end of the day, you have a career growth, and at the end of the day, when you separate, your dues are paid to you, right? So nice and paternalistic atmosphere. The problem is that the world has changed. So today it is not about, and if you remember, the traditional organizations paid less in cash and more in benefits, right? So there were canteens, and there were housing colonies, and there were recreational facilities and all that. Many of us are still operating on that template, whereas the world has changed. Today people demand maybe more autonomy. Autonomy in the way they work, autonomy in the way the deliverables are sort of discussed among themselves and finalized. Autonomy even in the way their compensation is given in their hands to decide what they want to do. So it is important right now that we recognize that the world has changed and double quick move to what is required today, and then think of what we need to do tomorrow. That is point number one. Point number two from my side is the technology out there is mind-blowing. I don't have to say why and how it is mind-blowing. HR is now catching up on technology, but it's absolutely imperative that organizations, that HR be at the forefront of technology adoption and not follow the business in adopting technology. Because catching talent, getting talent, making sure that, you know, what you give to the talent is personalized to that person's requirement, making sure he has the best employee experience, which is standardized at the same time personalized, all this technology can do. So these are the two things I would say are important at this point of time.
Fantastic, fantastic, Ram. I think as we draw closer to the first half of the module, I'll take a couple of minutes to summarize what has been going on in the last 25 minutes or so. The initial mood was somber. Shivaji Ganesan was walking very slowly, sorrowful. Radha was consoling him from a distance, right? The modernized context of what do we do about talent. Then came in our panelists who not only have 30 plus years of experience, 3 decades of experience, the versatility, the range of thoughts that they brought in. First and foremost, Dr. Rani talked about building the leadership right from the early stages, right? When we say role of leaders in talent attraction, talent acquisition, and talent retention, first of all, we are assuming that leaders are there. There may not be leaders. There is a dearth of leadership wherever we go, is what I keep reading in various articles. So she pointed out that when people come to us like a blank sheet, it is we who create that drawing out of them. And she was explaining the kind of methodologies that they incorporate. Then Rajan was pointing about the way the touch points are established and the way we treat people. If you ask somebody to come to an interview and then there are a bunch of people hovering around at the same space, you are not creating an environment, an ecosystem which attracts talent. Then we heard Ravi talking about an effort made by Steve Jobs. It has 2 parts. Big CEO doesn't hesitate to attract talent. Very recently, even as recent as last night, I came across a very similar situation where a CEO is not giving up on his hope and trying to attract talent whom he believes at that point of time would help him. So go any extent. So leader is not the one who is titled. Leader is the one who makes the efforts, who walks that extra mile, like the person who was walking out there in the song, right? And then Ram brought out quite a few powerful points in terms of how do we go about the overall situation. This is where we stand, and I'm sure while you are focused intensely on dreaming about daring and delivering, none of you are sleeping because we are not allowing you to sleep. And a happy report, I was just seeing my mobile, the sleeper cells have not been activated. My drone and IoT reports tell me that. Now over to you, Gokul. Are you ready with the second song? And you can reset the clock for me. This wake up song. This பாருங்களேன் பரபரப்பா இருக்கும்.
उड़ जा अब तलाश में परवाज़ देख परवाने की आसमां भी सर उठाएगा आएगा अपना टाइम आएगा मेरे जैसा शाना लाला तुझे ना मिल पाएगा ये शब्दों का ज्वाला मेरी बेड़ियां पिघलाएगा जितना तूने बोया है तू उतना ही तो खाएगा ऐसा मेरा ख्वाब है जो डर को भी सताएगा जिंदा मेरा ख्वाब अब कैसे तू दफनाएगा अब हौसले से जीने दे अब खौफ नहीं है सीने में हर रास्ते को चीरेंगे हम कामयाबी छीनेंगे सब कुछ मिला पसीने से मतलब बना अब जीने में क्यों क्योंकि अपना टाइम आएगा किसी का हाथ नहीं था सर पर यहाँ पर आया खुद की मेहनत से मैं जितनी ताकत किस्मत में नहीं उतनी रहमत में है फिर भी लड़का सहमत नहीं है क्योंकि हैरत नहीं है जरूरत यहाँ मर्जी की और जरूरत की है ताकत की है आफत की हिमाकत की इबादत की अदालत ये है चाहत की मोहब्बत की अमानत की जीतने की अबादत की है शोहरत की अब लालच नहीं है तेरे भाई जैसा कोई हाड़िच नहीं है इस हरकत ने ही बरकत दी है क्यों अपना टाइम आएगा अपना टाइम आएगा
So, the predictive algorithm has sensed that the audience mood is changing towards the positive. Apna time aa jayega is the feeling that is predominant in the audience mood, having heard the wisdom from all our panelists, right? And every word, somehow, I mean, this song struck me around 1:55 p.m. or 1:55 a.m. or whatever. And next day when I was going through the lyrics, I thought everything has been penned for the situation. The sound corner has been extremely powerful. Gokul, I thank you for the timely gesture in bringing those songs. And I didn't have time to remix it or whatever. I just absorbed it ashamedly. All credit goes to whoever made Gully Boy, and we are here to make it. Now we move into the second segment. We heard a lot about organization culture, the touch points, how do we treat people. Nobody is number denominated, everybody is a human being, all that gesture and other things. Now we move into the second stage. How do we retain people? We did all these things. And now talent has come in. Perhaps there is also an evaluation of who is a talent. Not every employee might be a talent. You might be having your own half-yearly, quarterly, annual, whichever way you appraise the employees in terms of the performance appraisal. So what is a talent which I want to retain, right? And how do I go about retaining them? So these are the two important questions. And I request you, Ravi, to open this session on, do you want to retain everybody? And do you want to retain talent? If so, what are your wise words to the audience?
Right. So before even going there, I just thought, what are the true measures of success for successful leaders, right? So when it comes to successful leadership, I got inspired by Indra Nooyi's definition of leadership. She said, leadership is very difficult to define or explain. Good leadership is even more difficult. But if you are a leader who is able to take talent to the end of the world, you are a great leader. It's almost like good to great explanation. Very difficult to define a leader, but good leader is somebody even more difficult to explain. But great leader is one who is able to take talent to the extreme level, right, to the end of the world. Like Rani ma'am was saying, Tata example is a fantastic one. What is the kind of culture or engagement plan they have to kind of retain talent who are willing to go to that extreme situation and willing to compromise for the customer care and willing to sacrifice their own lives. That's a extreme example, right? So when it comes to retaining the talent, the question is, most of the leaders have struggled in, should I retain the entire talent or should I let go also? Letting go is difficult, by the way, right? So when it comes to retaining talent, let me share Shell's strategy. So Shell, when they started the Global Service Center, they were trying to move most of the talent to the service center. And one of the best paid companies in the world, when you look at the compensation package, the best side of the compensation needle, right? So when they were moving it, they said, we will, over a period of 3 years, we will reduce 25% of your compensation. We will give you that 2 years' time. And they said, in 2 years' time, you're free to go. They've decided to let go people also, experienced people. But the decision is, we are going to go 25% efficient, but they wanted to retain talent. Believe me, 95% of the talent remained with them after 2 years also, even after 25% compensation reduction, which means sometimes if you have to go from efficiency to effectiveness, if you have to move, you have to take some tough call, which doesn't mean that people are going to go away if you're able to engage and retain talent, right? That's one. Second, I think, when it comes to taking measured risk with talent, leaders should be willing to do that, right? So what is the worst that can happen if you're taking risk with young talent? They are willing to learn, right? So it may not be in their syllabus if you're going in for campus, etc. But if you are able to take some measured risk with young talent, they are willing to learn. They will be able to add value to the organization. Therefore, as leaders, if you're thinking about attracting talent, take some measured risk. It will produce disproportionate returns and effect as well.
Thanks.
Any other question you have for?
I'll come to you now. Rajan sir.
You can call me Rajan here.
Dr. Rajan?
No, Rajan alone
Rajan.
is enough. Yeah.
Okay. The deal.
So
I have to retain you now.
I am there always, don't worry. I've already made a substitute here, so don't worry.
God. Whistle pode?
Huh?
Whistle pode?
Whistle boarding is already there. Okay.
Okay.
See, to me is like what is happening now, just a question to everybody is like, what is that you expect in an organization to be given to you? Whether it is money or something else? Pardon? Satisfaction.
Satisfaction which
But
includes.
I don't think there is a limit for satisfaction, right? இன்னைக்கு 1000 ரூபாய் கொடுத்தா நாளைக்கு 2000 ரூபாய் கேட்பீங்க.
Learning and growth. Recognition.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm expecting something else. I think, somebody? Little louder. Definitely, yes. Please give him a big hand. If I give you 1 crore of rupee and ask you to stay in the factory 24/7, not taking any leave, is it okay for you? And I give you 1 crore, but you are not even being respected in the organization. Will you stay? Okay, to me, is like any retention that happens, even to personally, to me also is like respect is the first thing, right? Once you are respected, I think money is not a problem at all, right? So because once you have the respect, you are given all the facilities, you are given whatever you need to perform, everything is given. A to Z, it is being given, right? So once the respect is lost, definitely yes, it's a big thing that we'll have to do it. And other important things that I've been preaching all these days to people is like, one is like make the expectations clear. What exactly you want has to be said very clearly. Not halfway through. இப்படி பண்ணா நல்லா இருக்கும், அப்படி பண்ணா நல்லா இருக்கும் அப்படின்றதெல்லாம் கிடையாது. What I want has to be made very clear. Next is வந்துட்டு feedback. It is not just at the month of March, okay, saying that you're not performed well, so we are not doing that, that is not right. You will have to give a continuous feedback. Wherever I'm wrong or wherever I'm good, you will have to give me the feedback. Feedback plays a very, very important role in talent retention. Next, importantly, is please correct me privately, not in front of everybody. Okay, so a lot of places this happens, so always try to correct things privately. Next, you have to believe me, right? And not have any, what do you call, yes or no, not like that. You'll have to believe that, yes, I will perform. That's very important. When something is good, try to praise me publicly. Okay, not call me inside the room and say that, hey, Satya, you have done a good job here. No, it's not that. When you're shouting at me, you can do it separately. But when you're praising me, please do it. And the other very, very important is make my rewards achievable. Don't put too much of pressure on me and say that you'll have to perform. Okay, this is the place where what happens is like lot of people start saying that, sir, too much of pressure is there, sir. Sir, I'm not able to perform, and all those things happens and people tend to live. And this is something very important that I would like to tell is, this is based on my last 5 years experience. Like, I was working as a GM and then came out and started my own organization. And a lot of people used to talk to me. And I used to ask them, why do you leave this company? Okay, so just wanted to understand. And I just found this 5 important things that was missing, and that's why I left. And this I call it as red theory. Okay, formulated by Rajan. Okay, first is respect. So people don't value me as a person. Okay, so that's one reason that I leave. Next one is recognition. I have not even at least said, okay, Ravi, you have done a good job. And ultimately I've said, I'm paying for you, you do it. Okay, there is no recognition at all. Now, third one is reward. However good I do, it is always
Same
biased.
Same percentage? Or?
Biased. Okay, so what I would like to have is like unbiased rewards on my performance. And I've never been empowered at all, right? People don't listen to me. My boss never listens to me at all. Whatever I say, first do your job and then come back to me. Okay, so the empowerment is not given. And the last important one is like, they have never shown my future. In next 5 years, what I'm going to be. Okay, so these are the few reasons that I found personally when I was discussing to a lot of people. These are the things like respect, recognition, reward, empowerment, and development. These things, either one or combination of all was missing, hence I had to leave. Thank you.
Fantastic. I think, Rajan, I listened to you. You asked me to call you Rajan, I call you Rajan.
Thank you.
One important insight about him, I think we can all emulate. Much before the days when WhatsApp was founded as a company, was known, or you started creating all these groups and then say good morning, good evening, good night messages, he was sending 3,000 SMS messages to his employees. Do you know how it works? Right. He did not talk about retention. He has done certain things to compile his 5 R's, starting with respect, the recognition, the reward, continuous feedback. I mean, continuous feedback is something which is very essential. You don't sit in the month of March and then decide, okay, this was your KRA, and where were you for the remaining 364 days? If somebody is not able to traverse towards a genuine, achievable goal, where was the boss all those days, right? The first thing as a leader that I have always tried to do is, if somebody has a problem, I am there to help them to resolve it. Morning also we heard IAS officers, Radhakrishnan and all speaking, not blame each other. How do I solve a problem? If one of your team members is stuck or unable to move beyond a stage, it is the responsibility of the leader to see how they could be helped. I mean, if they are permanently needing a help, it is a talent evaluation which you can always take a call. But people do get stuck at times for various reasons, organizational conflicts, lack of availability of resources, and n number of reasons. And beautiful, Rajan, for bringing all those points. I think these points that you just now shared, please publish them as a book to all the PMP members shortly.
Definitely. And just one thing that before, I just want to tell all of you here is like, we have knowledge, right? See, the knowledge has been converted into experience. And this experience is converted into skill. And this is not going to help you anymore if you want to be a good leader, right? Three things are very, very important. One is your decision making. Right or wrong, you should be in a position to take decisions. Next, communication, right? And the communication has 3 levels. One is to your subordinates, one is to your colleagues, and one is to your bosses. And third one is very, very important, is your actions that you're going to take. I've taken a decision, I've communicated, and the action that I'm going to talk is going to talk loud. And this, in today's situation where we are living in a VUCA world, a situation leader is required. For this situation leader, your decision making is very important, your communication is very important, and the actions that you take are very, very important. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. So, Dr. Rani, you need to now take a central view of things. From your point, we heard a lot of very, very useful, practical, emulatable, doable kind of points. What would you suggest to the audience on retaining talent? What would you impart to your students when they become the future leaders?
So actually there is a war for talent. We are supplying the leaders, we thought, but we are not supplying the leaders, just we are sending our students with some talents. So we are giving some practical exposures to them to attend that some conferences or do the case studies, practical exposures, lot of practical exposures were given. Then that the colleges are always evaluated by the AICT, UGC, NAC, NBA, so many inspections all there. For that we are submitting so many reports. So for that they asked that how many students have participated in hackathon or Vishwakarma or some other college events, maybe MSME projects. So all these things, we are training the students, but what outside it's happening is, that is a war of talent. So as a leader, for you it's a very difficult job to select a best talent from the pool. Then it's we did one study in Paragon Company Limited. So for that, what is the reason for attrition? So the study results tells there is a high correlation between the talent acquisition, retention and leadership. As what type of leadership styles followed by the leader? What my students expect from the leader, it is servant leadership. So the servant leadership, it is, for example, it's olden days, your assistant may give a coffee to you. But nowadays, my students expect it is that the leader has to give a cup of tea to them. So in the situations, we don't know how to cultivate or to create a climate for them. It's a tough time for us. Even it's in the previous, there's ordinary heroes of Taj Hotel case itself, that the professor Deshpande, he asked his American students, at the time of fire accident, what will you do? Terrorist attack. The American students said, we leave the hotel. But actually what was happened, that employees, they didn't leave the Taj hotels. Everyone, they are helping. What type of culture we cultivated? The Indian culture is, the guest is first. So the guest is first, that attitude, it made the employees to protect the guest, the hotels. So finally, the result 34 were dead. All the 34 were employees of Tata Group. Not only even one guest died. So this culture, maybe we can proudly say this culture developed in the schools and colleges as well as the home as a parents, what we taught to them. So maybe the students are not, they are having the talent to no doubt in this, but how long they can work in this? Maybe it is that you can say that the young generations, they don't like the first job and first spouse.
My goodness.
This is happening.
Last portion is edited.
I didn't know this, madam.
Old students, sir.
No, madam. If I knew, then might be yes. I would have got somebody like Nayandara.
Dr. Rani, thanks a lot for pointing out.
My wife actually said that she's going to come and pick me up. I hope she's not somewhere around. I'm a little worried.
Dr. Rani, thanks a lot for pointing out a very powerful story of how people make sacrifices and the lessons and values that are imparted into them. And I'm sure your outputs, which is the clay converted into statues and pieces of art, will turn out to be wonderful leaders for this nation in the days to come. And Ram, I would like you to summarize your thoughts on talent retention.
First off, I can only summarize thoughts, because if I had any ready-made answers, then I think I would probably be counting my next $1 million. So obviously, we are all in a situation where we don't have answers to this very compelling question about employee retention. But having said that, let me just tell you as honestly as I can what I think is the issue today. Number one, retention is an employer problem. Retention is not an employee problem today. At least in today's circumstances, an employee has a choice. As I said, it's a buyer's market. And as far as we are concerned, it is for employers to retain their people. The reason being that with length of tenure comes experience and skills, as somebody mentioned, and that converts to benefits for the organization. So this is a one-sided problem right now. What is it that employers can do? First off, I would like to slightly move the goalpost away. Retention is going to be a fact of life. What we can do is to try and ensure that we are employers of choice, right? So that retention is minimized, and those people who do leave talk so highly about you that they become brand ambassadors for you, and more people come in because not only those who are inside are talking about you, but those who are left are also talking about you. I'll give you L&T's own example, right? I had batchmates who studied 30 years back with me. They had worked in L&T. Of course, after they did their MBA, they moved out of, they did not come back into that particular industry. They are in multiple other industries. But every one of them, when we reconnect today after 32, 33 years, everyone talks extremely highly about L&T, not only about L&T, about their respective bosses who were there at that point of time. Each one of them, when they talk outside, they motivate, they're all leaders in their own right today in different industries. Each one motivates maybe 2 people, maybe 3 people, maybe 10 people in their sphere of influence to look at L&T as an employer. That's one. I was listening very carefully to what the fellow panelists were saying. I have a slight disagreement with Rajan. Is about the respect part, right? Respect today is a hygiene factor. No respect, forget an employee, your family will not be with you. First spouse, second spouse, whichever spouse. Respect is hygiene today, right? Respect does not guarantee retention. Respect is what is supposed to be. The days of yelling at people, the days of shouting at people, the days of beating people physically in certain industries, those are gone. Just forget them. But having said that, some of the other points you made were simply wonderful. One, and this is something that we see quite often, right? The larger the organization, the more the issue. One is at all points of time, make the employee clear what his role is. Very often we bring in somebody for a role and then we give him some other role. Right? As I said, with all good intentions. Maybe the organization demands it, maybe the circumstances demand it, but we do that. Second, so be clear that if there is a role change, it is with his complete buy-in and complete consent. Second, show him the growth path. I think that you mentioned. Show him the growth path. It cannot be, at least, it's all very easy to say that, you come and join us and 30 years later you can become the CEO. But what is my path to becoming the CEO? Can you show me what is my next role, the next role, and how do I reach there? What should I do and what should I not do? This is where a leader is one person who helps you dream, not just dreams himself, but helps you dream. How do you do it in practical life? Today, the cycle time is reducing drastically, right? Earlier, to be a CXO, you needed to be 55 years old. Today, to be the president of a country, you need to be 45 years old. Age is reducing drastically because there are many other things which fill in for experience. Technology and other things, the all-round knowledge helps you understand very quickly. So younger people are doing greater. I'll give you one example from L&T. I was looking after HR for one of the business verticals called the water and effluent treatment. And I must say this is not something I have done. It happened against my advice, so I'm being upfront. The business leader wanted to have a project manager. We are an organization that is traditional, that is, we believe in experience correlatable to age. This gentleman decided to have a project manager who was exactly 25 years old. He was to handle a 230 crore water project in Moga, Punjab, fresh from IIT, 1 or 2 years in our organization, and he decided to make him a project manager. I raised a red flag saying that no, you need to look for somebody. My concern was if the project manager is in, let's say, the entry level, his team below him is going to be at what level? But against my advice, this person was made the project manager, and he did a fantastic job. He did an absolutely fantastic job. 230 crores in the hands of a 25-year-old. He delivered the project on time. He delivered it to the quality that the customer wanted. Here is the kicker. 3 years later, he left. As I said, you can't guarantee retention because you do all this, right? He left because he saw another opportunity in another industry he was working in. But wherever he went, he spoke so highly about his experience in L&T, so highly about his experience in construction, which is not often a very glamorous field, that wherever he went, he was a brand ambassador. And fair enough, 2 years after that, when his plans did not work out or he did not really find satisfaction in what he was doing, he came back to this company. That is one example I wanted to give. What does a leader do, this particular leader I'm talking about? He gave him the responsibility. He was unconventional. Against the wisdom of his HR head, he said, no, I'm going to make him the project manager. Gave him the role, told him that, look, here's your path to becoming a BU head one day. So the leader walked the talk. The leader was unconventional. The leader encouraged and motivated the person, right? So that's what you expect from a leader. And continuous feedback, yes, absolutely important. Today, the days of annual feedback, half-yearly feedback are over. The technology is available. In our own company, we have something called anytime feedback. Everyone needs to use it. Make sure good, bad, ugly, everything is out there so that you know where you are, you know what corrective measures you need to take. Few things that came to my mind, I thought I should share with you. Yeah.
Fantastic, Ram. I think you have...
Ram, what you said was nice. But when I left that company, they tell, no, why did you leave? You are supposed to become a plant head. Which they should have said before my resignation. After my resignation, once I left that company, everybody called. All the top guys called me and said, why did you leave this company here? You are supposed to become a plant head. You are one among the top identified leaders.
No, I think, yeah, absolutely.
So it was too late.
I think, in fact, usually we end up saying this when the person is already put in his papers.
That should not happen, right?
Very true, very true.
The brilliant thing about what you said, Ram, two highlights. In earlier answer also, you pointed out about changing times. Your mindset cannot be static or frozen or captured in time. You need to change in time. You brought it out in the recent answer also that age is necessarily not the only way of gaining experience. Technology cuts it short. You can have a 25-year-old project manager, 35-year-old CEO or whatever, doing a successful job. Very, very valid answers. I liked that debate between you, which was not planted or planned. முரண்பாடுகள், மார்னிங் when the minister, மாண்புமிகு அமைச்சர் மனோ பேசும்போது இந்த முரண்பாடுகளுக்குள்ள எவால்வ் ஆகி ஒரு அழகு வருதுன்னு சொன்னாங்களே. So you are talking about respect as a must, and he was talking about respect as a hygiene. So I agree with both of you, because I don't want any of you to leave the stage halfway. I am the moderator sitting here. So the beauty about respect is, even though you say that respect has to be a hygiene, still there are pockets in the society where a pressure comes and stresses out a CEO, or something happens, the numbers are going south, the investor is sitting on my neck. So for umpteen reasons, a very cultured man sometimes may move, man, women, whatever, let me be gender neutral, they may move away from their ability to normally give respect to a notch down or whatever. Other brilliant thing which I figured out from your answer, which you are also talking about, Rajan, is the way you connect with your employees, the way you are able to establish their rapport and make them your brand ambassadors. Even if they go, you don't care. They will be able to get you 100,000 people from wherever they go. Personally, I would like to summarize this module with two of my personal episodes in my last role in my most recent organization, where I was playing the head of HR for about 11,000 employees. Point number one, I found a lot of people who were maturing in the organization, and I decided that I will start greeting them. When I started greeting them, it became a practice for many of the CXOs to start greeting them. I gave them a personal time of about half an hour greeting per individual on their day of 15th anniversary. And I met about 120 people in this endeavor. And I had three standard questions. What made you stick here? What is the chemistry behind you sticking in this organization? What is one thing that you feel that the organization has lost over a period of time? And the third question, standard question, was, where do you want this organization to be in next 10 years as your dream? I compiled all those answers, and I have a compelling, I mean, like, madam, you are talking about an academic research. This was a personal, practical research. One thing that I came out clearly is, most of the people continued with the organization because when they came into the organization, there was a very good learning culture. Their team managers supported them when it mattered. Whenever they failed, they gave them that lifting hand or helping hand or whatever, and allowed them to come out of it. And that factor has gone in very, very deeply. Today, even if I ask them to go out of that organization, they will not go. The second thing which I started as an endeavor in 2020 was when the global pandemic struck all of us, unheard of, once in a century kind of a thing. And I thought, at least for my employees in India, I will reach out to inquire about their well-being. First month of May, we had 2-3 cases. Things were going fine. First year, I completed the analysis with about reaching out personally to 200 employees. Believe me, when Delta wave started, May 2nd, when Radhakrishnan, IAS officer, was speaking about the oxygen shortage and all those kind of things, it was massive. It was phenomenally massive, killing people all around us. And 1/3 of my HR team was down with COVID. Despite that, the team maneuvered itself to support the employees. And during that next 6 or 7 weeks, I was speaking to at least 70 employees a week. I had to cover, because I have taken a vow, I can't leave it midway. And every time when I called in the beginning stage, HR head is calling me, they thought that I was going to throw them out of job. I said, no, this is not about, sir, Satya sir, I'll come back to job. I'm not asking you about that. Are you okay? Are you doing this kind of CT scan? Are you able to do breathlessness check? Are you able to do pruning? So I was giving those kind of talks, and on the spot, I have also written mails to my salary. Somebody says, sir, I am running out of money. I wrote their salary advance approval to the department. I can't expect a hospital bedridden guy to be seeking a salary advance or whatever. So what I found in this exercise is, maybe all employees were not retained. Some of them might have quit and gone out of the organization. But as you said, this gesture would have gone deep into their heart, because they believed that if the head of HR is taking concern about me and my well-being, and whenever support was needed, it was offered, it had a profound impact on them. Fantastic discussion so far. Thank you all the panelists. I'm sure the video recording, which will be out shortly, I think you will be sharing it in YouTube. Yesterday, I happened to hear from one of my ex-colleagues that, Satya, I saw you in a conference where Dr. Sridharan was speaking. I said, what? I went into YouTube, I found Kaushik introducing Dr. Sridharan, and I was sitting somewhere in the audience. I am sure this module is also going to be there in the audience. And let me tell you one thing, if I am not having 350 likes in the YouTube program, I believe that those many people have slept. Right? Now,
No, I'll do the first like, sir, don't worry.
now let me move over to the second S. What is the second S? It is a super shot coming from all of you. I put all my co-panelists into a position of pressure. We gave them questions and we wanted them to, I didn't allow them to even have a hot cup of coffee, because the project management is all about managing time. So I will be reading out 2 questions which have been selected by the panelists. The answer will come right away. And I request the panelists, as I read out the name, please come closer to the stage. As soon as the answers are read out, finally we will take a groupie, selfie, whatever name you call it from a technology perspective, before we switch on to the spotlight session. Question number 1, should I read it out? Selvam Palani from Seat Limited, are you there? Selvam, are you there? Your question, how to strategize while handling the Gen Z and millennials have blend of population where experienced say that we are not consulted and young one have their own logics. A brilliant question. This has been chosen as the first super short question. I would request one of the panelists, Ram, maybe you would like to touch upon the millennial side of the story.
Right. Now, this is my personal view, and many of you may not agree with it. But this entire Gen Z and Gen Z and all that is highly overrated. We were the Gen Z of our time. Right? Back in 1973-74, I was the Gen Z. In 1990, I was a rebellious young manager who thought that all this was rubbish, all these old guys knew nothing. Remember that when Mahatma Gandhi came to India in 1905, he was how old? 1869 to 1905, how old was he? 36, 37? Right? He was a young rebel. We don't think of Gandhiji as young at all, right?
Because of the image.
Because of the image. So the point is this. The point is, it doesn't matter whether you're Gen Z, whether you're Gen Y, baby boomer, whatever you call it, the requirements of people are the same. They are modified by the opportunities around them, and they are modified by the technological evolution around them. It is as simple as that. We are people who learned how to handle a telephone. Our parents didn't. We are people who grew up with electricity. Our parents perhaps didn't. Our grandparents certainly didn't. Today's generations are what we call digital natives. Before a child can walk, a child knows how to operate a mobile phone, but so be it. That is today's technology. The requirements are the same. Maybe, as I said, modified by the circumstances around them. The earlier generation was fighting for food, clothing, and shelter. We were probably fighting for a standard of life. And these people are looking more at purpose, more at quality. But that said and done, in an organizational context, whether you're a 22-year-old or whether you're a 60-year-old, there are some deliverables that you have to deliver. There are some things that you expect from the organization, and the organization has to give you that. So the answer to your question is, stop treating people like Gen Z. Treat them as individuals. Stop bracketing them as one large mass, and at the same time, stop treating them as something special. Each one is an individual, whether he's 60-year-old or 22-year-old, he has a requirement. See how, as an organization, you can fulfill that requirement. And if you can't, that thing about respect, tell him respectfully that you can't. Right? But tell him with respect, tell him that you can't. And he has an opportunity, he will look for somewhere else, probably where that thing is available. But this is my answer.
Thank you. You be there. Seldom you be there, next the person also come. The next one, I don't know, there is a very, very automobile-centric selection today. Renault Nissan is the employer's name. Can the person, how many people are from Renault Nissan?
If you read out the question, I think he'll stand up.
No. I just want some to tease the audience. There are a couple of hands going up. The second super shot, Sai Kumar Kondaraju. Please come over. Can we give him a big round of applause? The question is long. Let me read it. As we are aware, lots of energy, time, and other resources are spent on upskilling of the employees. What are the best practices you could recommend to keep the employees stay connected with the organization vision and be associated with the organization for a longer period. With this question we classified as a retention question. Rajan, you already gave your book. I mean, the thing is now you need to publish the book and give him the first copy. Please answer that.
No, see, other important thing that what I would like to add on is like, the time that you spend with the employee is very, very important. Okay, so might be like I'm his employee and I'm coming and seriously talking to him and he takes his mobile. Solupa, I'm listening. Okay, so that's not a right attitude, right? So the time, even if it is 2 seconds or 5 seconds or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, the time needs to be quality. Okay, so at least the image is received that, okay, whatever I'm saying, it is being listened. And second important thing is like, when I am struggling, please try to support. Because see, not everybody is a master, right? Not everything I can do well. But whenever I'm struggling, specifically when you identify that I'm struggling, please come and support. Extend your support. Teach me, learn me. And here I would like to say only one word, right? This attitude is very, very important. It is for both the first question and the second question, right? Earlier it was like this. I will say it in Tamil, then I will say it in English. Mudiyum endral mudiyum, mudiyadhu endral mudiyadhunu sonneenga neenga out. ஏன்னா இன்னைக்கு இருக்க சிச்சுவேஷனில் நீங்கள் முடியாதுன்னு சொன்னீங்கன்னா அவ்வளோதான் முடிஞ்சு போச்சு, ரைட்? இது கூட தெரியலையா அப்படின்றவாங்க அது. பட் இஃப் ஐ கேன் டூ இட், ஐ கேன் டூ இட். இஃப் ஐ கான்ட் டூ இட், ஐ வில் லேர்ன் டு டூ இட். திஸ் ஆட்டிடியூட் இஸ் தேர். அதாவது என்னால் முடியும் என்றால் முடியும், முடியாது என்றால் பயிற்சி எடுத்து நான் வந்து செய்ய முடியும் அப்படின்ற அந்த ஆட்டிடியூட் இருந்தது அப்படின்னாக்கா டெஃபினட்டாக மில்லியனர்ஸாக இருந்தாலும் சரி, யாராக இருந்தாலும் கண்டிப்பாக வந்து இட் கேன் பி டன். பட் டு ஹிஸ் கொஸ்டின் இஸ் லைக், ப்ளீஸ் ஸ்பெண்ட் குவாலிட்டி டைம் வித் யுவர் பீப்புள். தட் இஸ் மிஸ்ஸிங் டுடே. Absolutely. I don't know how many of you will agree, or illana Kishore mari, Ram mari vandittu edha solvarana enak theriyala, but that time is not being spent. If he comes to you, please, whatever busy, if you are busy, tell him that you will call back, and please do not forget to call him back. Okay, normally what happens is we tell them, I'm very busy, I'll call you back, but we never try to call him. Okay, that itself, our image is gone. So whatever time is there, please spend it as quality, with a cup of coffee or without coffee also. And I do it mostly with the cigarette. Okay, like whether it is my MD or my employees, whatever else, we have a smoking zone. வீட்டில் வீட்டில் சொல்லிடாதீங்க சார், 53 வயசில் இது வாங்க முடியாது. Okay, so whatever it is there at the smoking area, what happens is like, whatever needs to be done or whatever needs to be communicated, it is done informally and formally. Things become very easier. And people are very happy. They will always come.
Thank you. I think can I request Selvam and Sai to be on stage and the photographer to come and take a central shot. We will stand up for you.
Happy that both of you are from my area. Both of you are from my area. Program area.
Nice meeting you.
Sir, adala mandla sir. Match fixing ella pesanga sir. Retention aidum sir.
What is this? Oh, okay. I think we will request that. Dr. Rani, can you give it to? So congratulations to both of you, sparklers of a question, selected as a super shot, 2 out of 50. You are chosen.
Very good, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will take back our seats and then now we move over to the last segment, the Q&A session. Female, male, female, male. இங்கே வந்து So I think we can, yeah. First question, anybody from quadrant 1? Any lady member from quadrant 1, you can open out with a quick question. Yes, please, take the mic. Can we have the mic ready for the second quadrant?
How do we handle difficult conversations in an organization?
How do we handle difficult conversations within the organization?
Right. So let me take
Sure.
that question, because when we talk to senior leaders and engage them, one of the frequent question coming up is, how do we have difficult conversation with team members, or even, it need not be only with the team member, it can be with your peer, it can be with the leader also, right? So it's about dialoguing in a organization where transparency is practiced. It's easy to have that kind of a dialogue. It's not even a conversation, it's a dialogue. So where you share your thoughts without any fear of rejection. Again, like a co-panelist was talking about the quality time. When you spend quality time, when you are demonstrating to the member that you are listening. When I say listening, authentic listening. It's one level above active listening, where you know the stated and unstated. Therefore, the conversation is really a matured dialogue, where you are able to take some decisions and move on, right? That's the art of dialoguing. It's not just conversation. It's more about, it need not be formal, right? So it's, again, I wouldn't go to the dumb zone because it creates a lot of health-related issues, because we already got reminded about the health and well-being aspect also. But open conversation, open dialogue will open up the door for the engaging conversation, I would say.
Thank you, Ravi.
So just one question, don't take it personally. Okay, so that's very important. The next time when you meet him, you always feel that, okay, last time he was doing like this, so this time also, no, it is not like that. So any conversation that happens is either, it is all official, right? When you talk, at home also it is like, husbands and wife, yes, definitely, right? Okay, it is always there, but only thing is don't take it to your heart. So next time it will become all right.
Spotlight quadrant 2, a gentle question from one of the gents out here. Quadrant 2 is this row. Any questions to the panelists? There is a hand raising there.
Hello.
I think you need to be. It's on.
Retention is very, very critical for our organization. And I have seen a organization lose a customer whenever there is a 2 or 3 critical employee leave the organization. And I have seen nowadays the company are, which I feel it is something, retention is becoming a detention for employee. They're coming out with an employee to sign some kind of a, you cannot join for a 1 year, or their notice period is being, which unconventional notice period increased so much. And this kind of a practices required to be balanced. To what extent, how you can retain or you can detain. Some thoughts I want to have.
Let me take it quickly. Retention is something that has to be done at the strategic level and the tactical level. Strategic meaning long term, which we discussed enough here, and tactical at the short term. If a company is going to lose its customer because the critical resource is gone, then the company first has to retain that critical resource. Multiple ways of doing it. Make a counter offer. Make sure that the role is enhanced. Make sure that there is something extra that makes it compulsive for him to stay back. That is one thing that you can do. So it's a mixture of tactical and strategic. You talked about increase in notice period. You talked about, what shall I say, no poaching agreements or no competition agreements. All these are part of the tactical things, right? I worked in an industry where the notice period was 6 months and no notice pay. You serve 6 months and then go, right? But remember that all these are tactical. So they will give you short-term benefits. It's important. Right now you need to retain the person, you have to retain the person. But they will not substitute for long-term retention strategies. So it has its place, but it's limited to immediate relief. It's like between a crocin and between a long-term treatment.
If I may add a couple of things there. So when it comes to talent retention, most of the time these are reactive responses. After the event has happened, you try to repair it. But most organizations have the best practice of engaging before. So when it comes to talent categorization, all of us know there is high potential, there is critical resources. It's a bottom-up approach where you identify critical resources and have an engagement plan around it. Second, I think when it comes to critical resources, as leaders, you should not shy away from succession planning, right? So if they are going to walk away with critical customers, if you know that risk already, from risk mitigation point of view, you should have succession planning. Therefore, you are putting right people in front of the customer already and retaining the customer at least, right? So many times after the event, even if you increase the notice period, they're going to take the unveiled leave, and there is going to be disengagement during that period. All those things will happen. So my suggestion would be proactive, where you come out with a plan to engage them beforehand so that it does not happen.
Okay, we are running short of time, but still I would like to honor our promise, because that's what we have been talking about. Quadrant 3, a lady's question, quick one and a quick answer. And then she will ask the question. We nominate her to ask the question.
I know time is limited. Can you hear? Yeah, okay. So probably I just had one view as well as one question, if I am allowed to say so. See, as leader for this specific topic, I feel that, we should have the 3 E's in our mind. Enhance, encourage, and entrust. Enhance the resource so that they can dream, encourage the resource so that they can dare, and entrust them so that they can deliver. My question, but having said that, my question probably to Ram, I think, because, the view came up on letting go. When people decide they will have to go, most of the times, they are stern on their decision to go. But our organization now, these days, ready to accept that, because most of us go and, we have discussion after discussion after discussion to try to, convince them to retain. But that leads to dissatisfaction. So do we feel organizations today are ready to let go?
I probably should have clarified it better. An organization will let go after making efforts to retain the person, right? So all those things that you talked about are efforts to retain the person. An organization should make an effort to retain that person before realizing that, all right, our goals are different, and therefore we shake hands. And probably, if you have done right by him, if you have done right as a company, he goes out as your brand ambassador. But you have to first try and retain the person.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Quadrant 4, last question from a gent. Arun grabs the mic.
This is related to retaining the people. When we are trying to get the new resources from market, we are paying them heavy salary. And when we are trying to retain the people, we are not giving them the right increase or high increase. What is the reason behind this?
So, ஒரே வார்த்தையில சொல்லிறேன் சார். அதான் சார் உண்மை. ரைட்டா? ஓகேவா? உனக்கு நான் கொடுக்கணும் போது நான் கொடுக்க மாட்டேன். ஆனா வெளியில இருந்து எடுக்கறேன் போது நான் எடுப்பேன் நான். இதுதான் ரியாலிட்டி. ஏனா ஒருத்தருக்கு நான் இங்க கொடுத்தேன் அப்படினாக்கா என்ன ஆகும்? நான் 10 பேர் கேட்பாங்க. ஆனா இதே ஒருத்தர் அம்ச்சிட்டு இன்னொருத்தர் எடுத்தனா யாரும் கேட்க மாட்டாங்க. சிம்பிள்.
Okay. Let me give you.
It is in teaching industry also the same thing is followed, sir.
Now.
So it is now an SOP. As we wind up, one word from each one of you to the audience, just one word, take home message. Ravi, one word.
Effective leaders.
Rajan.
Respect. Be a respectful leader.
Rani.
Your actions inspire your team members.
Ram.
You make the difference between a good team, a great team, and a bad team.
So the panelists have done a wonderful job of ensuring that a 300+ member audience remains awake, yet daring, dreaming, daring, and delivering. Thanks a lot to you. Thanks a lot. It was a fantastic experience. I hope you all enjoyed it. I think we can come closer.
I thank all the panelists, Dr. K. Jawahar Rani.
சத்தம் பத்தல. பத்தல.
I thank all the panelists, Dr. K. Jawahar Rani, Dr. S. Ramkishore, Dr. A. Rajan Babu, Mr. S. Ravindran, for sharing your valuable insights on this very hot topic. We thank our moderator, Mr. V. Satyanarayanan, for making the panel discussion a very engaging session. I'm sure our audience would have many key takeaways from this discussion. Kindly request you all to stay on stage. Now I invite Mr. Prasanna Sampath Kumar, Mr. Neem Sai, Mr. Nanda Kumar, Mr. Anand Brito, Mr. Arun Sitaraman to be present here and to hand over the memento to all our panelists and the moderator. Thank you.